Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Jenny Dildine, the LDS Mission Coach, and you are listening to the LDS Mission Podcast, episode number 224, Why Resentment Builds. I'm Jenny, the LDS Mission Coach, and whether you're preparing to serve a mission, currently serving, a returned missionary, or a missionary mama like me, I created this podcast just for you. Are you searching for epic confidence, ready to love yourself and to learn the how of doing hard things? Then let's go. You totally already have what it takes to step powerfully into your potential and never question your purpose again. It's time to embrace yourself, embrace your mission, embrace your life, and embrace what's next. Hey, everybody. So glad you're here. Welcome to the LDS Mission Podcast. Today, I am your host. Isn't that how most people start their podcast? Well, usually I start my podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And that is true. And I'm so grateful to be hanging out with you today to talk about a very interesting and exciting topic, resentment. So what do you guys think about that? That's going to be fun. I have been thinking about this topic for a little bit, and I am excited to share with you some kind of takeaways that I've had over the last little bit about resentment. But before we dive into that, I wanted to just say happy holiday if you're on your mission. Today starts General Conference weekend, and my kids that have been on missions have told me that General Conference weekend is the closest thing that you get to a vacation or a holiday when you are on the mission. So if you are getting to enjoy that, a little downtime to watch General Conference, I'm super excited for you, and I will be thinking about you, and I will be listening to the talks with you in mind. So that is super fun. I definitely love General Conference for all of the reasons that we all love General Conference, to hear from our leaders and such, and to be inspired. And I love going to church in my pajamas. So what can I say? All right, let's talk about resentment today. So the way I like to think about resentment is it's an emotion like any other emotion that we experience as human beings living on this planet, right? We have emotions of overwhelm, doubt, fear, loneliness, frustration, happiness, contentment, peace, joy. We have all of these emotions that we get to experience in our bodies as we are humans on this planet. And the way I like to think about resentment is that resentment forms when we have a need or we have an expectation that someone else is going to meet that need instead of us just meeting that need for ourselves. And so I'm going to give you lots of examples. We're going to see kind of how this works and why this could be true. But just let's note right at the beginning, as it is with all emotions that I talk about here, is none of them are wrong or bad. They don't always feel super good in our bodies, but the tricky thing about resentment in particular is it does block us from taking a little bit more ownership of creating the mission experience that we want or the life that we want after our missions, because we're so busy waiting for someone else to meet our needs. And so I want to share with you an example of what this might look like. So if you're on the mission and your companion didn't get up on time, I remember my son telling me a story once about how his companion couldn't wake up in the mornings and couldn't get out of bed. And then he told me, I was thinking one time that maybe I should just dump a little bit of ice water on And he's like, but then I decided not to. And I'm like, probably a good idea. Probably not the best idea to dump a little bit of ice water on him. Anyway, I'm sure it would have just been funny, but looking back, I'm like, yeah, that probably wasn't the best idea. So I'm glad he didn't do that. But maybe you've had this experience where as like a coworker even, or one of your companions isn't showing up the way that you think they ought to. Okay. And so we could, use this scenario in a lot of different areas, but let's just say that you're on the mission and your companion didn't get up on time and you have this thought like they don't care about the rules and they don't care about the effort that I'm putting in, or like maybe they're not putting in enough effort. Now, this type of a thought is going to create resentment. Remember, it's that literal synapse that connects in your brain. The thought is like a bzzz, and it connects 2 points in your brain and then sends the emotion of resentment through your body. Now, when we're feeling resentful, that is a feeling like fuel in a car that's going to drive a certain set of actions where you might judge your companion. You could act cold towards your companion. You could feel discouraged. You start to believe that your motivation is based on someone else's behavior and that the only way that you can be successful is based on someone else's choices. And so the result of all of this is that we become disconnected from our companion and we become disconnected from our own growth or our ability to take ownership of the experience that we are having on our mission. So it's important to realize that the companion's behavior, even though on default our brain wants us to think like they are the reason I feel resentment, what we're actually going to find out is the companion and the time that companion got up is not the cause of your resentment. The cause of your resentment is actually a belief that he should be doing it differently. And if he did it differently, then I would feel better about myself and feel better just even in general. Like if we're the trainer, let's say, and our companion gets up on time, we allow ourselves to believe I'm doing a good job as a trainer. Okay. And so then we get to feel something different. So it's our thought about someone else's behavior that would cause this resentment. So here's what's true is we could, instead of if my companion doesn't get up on time, is I really could simply be like, you know what? He didn't get up on time, but I'm in charge of how I feel. I still feel like I'm doing a good job, and I can validate myself and be like, you know what? It's okay. Like, I don't need him to fill my confidence bucket or my courage bucket or my belief bucket, my belief in myself. I can do that on my own. And I can instead just think thoughts like, I care about showing up even if he doesn't. Like, what I'm doing is making a difference even though he's gotten out of bed late or whatever, right? Or I am really good at staying consistent even when he doesn't get out of bed on time. And these kinds of thoughts create our own empowerment, our own courage, our own validation, our own momentum towards the kind of person that we want to be. But you can see how resentment would build, because it's not even a conscious thing, but subconsciously we, and maybe this just comes from when we were children or toddlers, we think that other people should meet our needs, that someone should make me feel loved, validated, good enough, right? But the truth is, I just give you permission right now to approve of yourself and validate yourself and to feel good about yourself regardless of how other people are showing up. So resentment is what happens when we outsource how we want to think and feel about ourselves. So this comes back to a principle called emotional maturity that I have maybe talked about on the podcast at some point. But I like to think of the definition of emotional maturity as I am 100% always in charge of how I think and feel. Now, this is not to say that we are not influenced by other people and that other people's actions don't impact us. I don't want you to misunderstand. Of course, in many situations, we are impacted by other people and circumstances outside of us. But ultimately, it's up to you to make change, to change the way you think about things, to change the way you feel. No one can force you to do that. You have to do that for yourself. So emotional maturity is knowing that I am no longer a toddler. I no longer need my parents to feed me, quote unquote, feed me love, feed me care, right? It's I get to figure out that stuff for myself. Okay. So I have a story about when I was married. Well, I'm still married. What am I saying? So when I was younger married, so this was probably 10 years ago, when I just had sort of this resentment building about being a mom or even being married, because I wanted my family to sort of tell me what a good job I was doing, or my husband to make me feel love. Now, if you have listened to any of my podcast episodes, you know that the only person that can create love in my body, or appreciation in my body, or validation in my own body is me. Okay? So what would happen is I would try to explain it to the kids. I'd be like, if you could just do your chores, if you could just show up the way I think you should show up, if you could just make sure you come home on time for curfew, then I would feel appreciated. If you would just help me tidy up the house, then I would feel appreciation in my body. Well, the truth is, you guys, is that no one can make me feel the feeling of appreciation. The only way that I can feel the feeling of appreciation is if I think appreciative thoughts about my family and if I think appreciative thoughts about myself. And I'm not going to lie, that took me a lot of work. It took me a lot of time to really be okay, so the kids didn't pick up their backpacks. That doesn't mean anything about me. I am not going to watch them put their backpacks on the floor and then make that mean something about me, that I'm not a good mom, or I'm not doing a good job, or no one appreciates me. Instead of letting that resentment build, outsourcing the way I wanted to feel to my family or to my husband, I just decided they can put the backpacks on the floor and I'm still an awesome mom, and I still, can appreciate myself and I can appreciate them. And the backpacks on the floor doesn't mean anything about anything. And so the reason resentment builds, right, is because we get in this thought pattern where we think someone else is in charge of how we feel. And we expect them, whether consciously or unconsciously, to provide those emotions for us. And we wait. And this is why resentment keeps us stuck. Not wrong or bad. Sometimes we're going to feel resentful. It's okay. I think it's actually just a tactic of our brain and body so that we do feel stuck. And so we do stay stuck. Totally fine. But when you're done feeling resentful, what else is available is you stop farming out how you want to feel and stop waiting for how you want to feel. You just decide to create that feeling for yourself now. So I would even have like late night conversations with my husband, and I'd be like, if you could just bring me flowers, and so then I would just wait and I'd wait and I'd wait and no flowers and no flowers and no flowers. Well, what did the flowers mean to me? What the flowers meant to me is like, he cares about me. He's thinking about me. Well, if I just continue to wait around for him to bring me flowers, that resentment builds because I'm outsourcing how I want to feel. When instead, just right now, today, I could decide he cares about me and he's thinking about me and I mean a lot to him. But guess what else? I mean a lot to myself and I care about myself. So you know what I might just do is go buy myself flowers. And I have. Okay. So when we are in this place of emotional maturity, we have far less resentment because we aren't farming out the way we want to feel. Okay. All right. So usually if we feel this resentment build, if we're in this stuck place, it points to a need that we feel like is not being met. And I've mentioned some of these already. It could be validation. It could be that we feel like we need more like empathy or compassion, that we need more connection, or we need approval. Okay. So here's what we can do instead. Instead of outsourcing those things to other people and waiting around for people to give them to you, which by the way, they can't give them to you anyway. What you can do is just decide it's my job to see myself. It's my job to validate me. I acknowledge that what I'm going through is hard. It's hard work and good job, me. And then create connection with myself and approve of myself, because what we all just want, right, is to feel validated, accepted, and approved of. I think that's the basis of and feel like we're good enough. And we just waste so much time and build so much resentment waiting for other people to give that to us when we could just, I can't tell you how it's changed my life and could change your life and your mission to just do those things for you. Create that acceptance and that validation for yourself. Now, I want to have a little caveat here that requests are allowed. Like, it's okay for me to say, you know what would be great, husband, is if you brought me flowers. Or you know what would be great, companion, is if you like kind of gave me a heads up of when you think you might get out of bed or something like that. Or it might be amazing, coworker, if you could, give me a little positive feedback once in a while, right? Like, it's totally fine that we like external validation. It makes sense because what that external validation does is it gives us permission to believe what someone is saying and do that for ourselves. It gives us permission. So you can ask for support. You can ask for validation from people, right? Like, I do this with my husband all the time. It's like, I feel a little bit disconnected. Can we sit down and talk, right? But our own well-being shouldn't completely be based on others giving it to us. You can, and I'm just telling you right now, you guys, you can just decide to validate yourself. You can. And I highly recommend that you do, because this gets us out of resentment. So let's talk about a couple other examples. Maybe you have a roommate that does most of the cleaning, right? And roommate A does most of the cleaning and roommate B doesn't notice or acknowledge any of the effort. Okay. So then roommate A starts feeling resentful because they're doing most of the cleaning and they're thinking a thought like, this roommate doesn't appreciate me. This roommate doesn't see what I'm doing. This roommate doesn't approve of or appreciate the work or the effort that I'm putting in, right? So what's underneath this we can see is a need that this roommate A wants to feel seen and validated, right? But the resentment builds because they've outsourced it. They've outsourced the feeling to roommate B. They're just waiting for the recognition. Well, roommate B is probably in their own head and wanting their own recognition. And instead, you could just decide like, okay, they don't appreciate me, but I appreciate me. I love having a clean apartment. I have an example of this. My son, I think there was something like this going on with my son. I can't remember the story exactly because it just dropped into my head. But my son, it wasn't like a super tidy apartment. And one of the roommates hadn't done the dishes, and then another roommate hadn't done the dishes. And then my son, I don't know, there was something going on with the music, or he was listening to music or something like that. And I don't even think my son was being disrespectful at all. It's just, and he was doing his own dishes, but something got under his roommate's skin, and this roommate started to build resentment, right? Whatever this roommate was seeking, whether that was approval or validation or appreciation, whatever it was, connection. Well, he was outsourcing it to his other roommates. And then finally this resentment had built to the point that finally he just laid into my son and told him what a jerk he was and how he was, like an idiot because of this or because of that. And then my son was just left going wait a second, you could have just asked me, right? That's where that request comes in. Hey, could you make sure that your music is off by 8 p.m. or could you make sure you use your headphones more often or whatever it is, right? We can just make that request to get our needs met. But also if this roommate had some stuff he wanted to believe about himself or feelings he wanted to feel, that roommate could have just taken care of that himself and not let that resentment build up. Okay, so here's another example. Maybe you have a companion that consistently avoids planning the lessons. Do any of you have this? Maybe some of you are nodding your heads, or maybe it's the opposite of this, you want to plan a lesson, but then your companion doesn't let you or something like this. And so maybe if you have a companion that consistently avoids planning these lessons, you might have a thought they don't care about the work. They always make me do all the work. My effort doesn't matter because they don't want to contribute and all of that. And so notice again, this resentment doesn't build from the not planning, but from what the companion is waiting for. He's waiting for his companion to give him a sense of approval and purpose, when he could just approve of himself and decide that there is so much purpose in planning a lesson. Right? Isn't that easier? You guys, doesn't this make sense that we can just approve of ourselves and create those feelings we want now, and then resentment will go out the window. Okay, so he could just decide, I validate my own effort and dedication to planning lessons. Okay, so I hope you're getting the idea is that sometimes resentment comes because we notice that we need something, right? And none of this is conscious, but we need this acceptance, validation, compassion, connection, appreciation, and we wait for people to give us. People are terrible at giving us these emotions. And not only are they terrible at it, it's not even possible. You should and can start creating these emotions for yourself. So this is one of the analogies I came up with is let's say you are feeling a little low on this appreciation or validation or self-compassion or something like that. And that's your tank of gas. You can wait for someone to come fill it for you, kind of like I was doing with my kids and with my husband. I want to feel more love for myself. I can wait till someone gives me permission to do that. right? But that's basically like me just sitting at the gas station waiting for someone to come and pull up and pay for my gas. I don't know, maybe you're waiting for this from your mission president, right? Or from your district leader, waiting for that approval and that appreciation when you could just be like, you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up my own tank and get on my way. That is what gets rid of resentment, right? Because the longer you sit there at the gas station, looking at your watch and twiddling your thumbs and tapping your toes, the more resentment that builds. But it's your responsibility to fill your own tank, okay? So here's just a couple healthy, again, overview of some alternatives rather than going to resentment. Again, not wrong or bad, but when you're ready, you can acknowledge the needs that you have. So just notice, like, I'm feeling like I need a little bit of validation. I'm feeling like I need a little bit of appreciation. I'm feeling like I need a little bit of compassion, feeling like I need a little bit of love, okay? So you can also make clear requests of people. Can you help me, like, remind me that I'm doing a good job? I ask my husband this quite frequently, like, remind me that I'm doing a good job again, right? And I can ask him for that rather than just having silent expectations where no one knows what to expect. And then you build this resentment because we're waiting around for someone, okay? So you can make a clear request, amazing, great, but don't make that the only way that you get these feelings that you want. You can choose your own empowering thoughts that create your own validation, your own appreciation. They sound like this: I'm doing a good job. I appreciate myself. I approve of my effort. I'm amazing could be another one, right? Like, I've become self-sufficient in a way. I've become self-reliant in a way when I can provide these things for myself instead of waiting for other people to do that for me. I become less needy. And when I'm an emotional child, which we'll go in and out of, by the way, sometimes we'll be in an emotional childhood where we farm and outsource our feelings to other people. Totally fine. It's a function of the brain. It's totally fine. But when you're ready, you can step into emotional adulthood. But think about a child. Sometimes they are needy. In fact, when they're newborns, they're very needy. But now that you're an adult and you're on your mission, or you're after your mission, you get to take some emotional responsibility. And you can accept that people may influence you or impact you, but don't outsource your ultimate emotional state of how you feel. Okay? So, long story short, in a nutshell, resentment builds when we rely on others to fill our needs, to feel validated, approved of, or good enough. The easier shortcut is just to fill your own tank and to do that for you. So that freedom comes to keep heading towards your dreams, to keep heading towards your goals when you stop outsourcing, when you stop hanging out at the gas station and take ownership of your emotions. So you don't need other people to tell you that you're awesome. If they do sometimes, great, more power to you. It is super fun. I love it. But you can just decide you're doing a good job now, and take it from me. You are. Being a missionary is hard. Being a human is hard. Doing the things that you do every single day, day in and day out, feeling these feelings and managing your mind and interacting with people in all of these different types of relationships and dynamics is hard. So good job, you. And maybe look at yourself in the mirror today and be like, good job, me. I approve of me. I validate me. I appreciate me. And I am doing a good job. Just decide that today. And then you be the one to fill your own needs, your own gas tank. All right? And this will get rid of resentment. slowly but surely as you learn to do this for yourself. Okay, everyone, I hope you have the most amazing week thinking about you every single day. Take care. Serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints can present a unique set of challenges, and mindset and emotional well-being is more important than ever. So thanks for being a part of this community, where we share real-life mission stories, support each other through struggles, and keep creating the mission and post-mission experiences that we truly want. Don't forget to check out the show notes for additional resources and share this episode with someone that you think might need it. Thanks so much for being a part of my world, and know this: no matter which part of the mission experience you are involved in, Jenny, the LDS mission coach, is thinking about you every single day.